Hello, future people. This is Womack. I need to start our PowerPoint, but before that, we do have a guest speaker. She is one of the higher ups here. I always forget your name though, so I greatly apologize.
That's okay. It's Alan, but if you want to email me or look me up for anything, it's Calvin because I was recently married and haven't changed it also.
Okay, all right. Well, let's all welcome Miss Alyssa. She is one of Dr. Sweat's left-hand woman.
Oh.
So she is here to talk to you about outreach, if I recall correctly.
Yes.
They should be able to hear you just fine on there too.
Okay.
Are you okay with being recorded?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Always have to ask.
So like we said, my name's Alyssa Allen. All of my email, if you look me up on the website, anything like that, it'll be Cowan, Cowan. I don't know when that'll change. But I'm here so basically I run all of STEM outreach for the for the College of Science and Engineering. We have 7 departments underneath us, and you are one of them. I thought that was coming from the thingy.
No. We're not that bad.
Anyway, so my efforts include K through 12 outreach as well as campus recruiting for our 7 departments. So what I'm here for is to see if I have any interest from you guys in helping me, one, do outreach through K through 12. And that includes campus visits. So on the ASU website, when teachers go and sign up to do field trips on campus, I can put your department down as doing some kind of presentation if y'all have enough people willing to help with that. And y'all are completely free to make up this curriculum, decide what you want to show the students, and things like that. Another part of outreach that we do is we have something like the lab night. So we have a lab night on October 13th, and I think y'all are signed up for it.
Yes, you signed us up for it.
Okay. So we'll have more events like the lab night. Have you explained to them what it is?
I have not.
Okay.
All I know is I need to get something ready for middle school and elementary.
Yes. So the College of Science and Engineering Lab Night is open to the public, but it's geared towards elementary and middle school students. And all 7 of our departments will have at least one booth set up, and we're going to invite the public to campus to do fun STEM activities. Chemistry is going to have their magic show. Y'all are going to have an event of some sort.
We're going to have a game to show off. That's what
A game. I like that. The engineering lab will be open. They'll be doing a bunch of cool stuff in there, crushing concrete and whatever engineers do. So
that's a past engineering major. No.
yes, it is. That is one of their booths. Is crushing concrete.
Concrete?
That's not what they do, though. That's not what they do.
Bugger, bugger, me crush
That's as far as I got.
That's true. I am a caveman.
So we'll have several of these kind of events throughout the year where elementary and middle school students are on campus. We also have campus visits from high school students. And I won't reach out to you very often with these unless we have students who are interested just in computer science. And in that case, I might request a couple of you guys to come and give them a tour and talk a little bit about your experience here at ASU and in your department. And then for the recruiting side of things, I go to college fairs. I've been to one a week the past 3 months. I'm leaving for San Antonio tomorrow to go to one. And I will ask you guys, 1 or 2 of you, to attend these college fairs with me to kind of recruit to students. At each one of these events, we talk to about 600 kids. So it's kind of like rocket fire questions all the time. And we just get information cards from them so that way our admissions office can contact them in the future and see if they're interested in attending our university and send out deadlines and things like that. So are any of you interested in STEM outreach / recruitment?
Or if I have to be if I have to apply to your selfishness, do remember, all of y'all probably have to fill out scholarship applications every year. You know the other category that you've been ignoring for half a decade? This is the other category right here.
Another thing that this looks really well on is applications and resumes. And you will get a ton of letters of recommendation from the people I work with, including Dr. Sweats and myself. So that might be another motivating aspect of this.
And also just, giving back to the like community that y'all grew up in. I know if I have to give up, is there any interest? I know I got Daisy, got
Okay.
Blythe, and we got AJ. All right.
I'll see if I can, but
Okay.
I'm already doing a kind of a project with K, really toward like 6 to 12.
Okay.
But
Well, if you need my help with that, let me know.
I'll see if I'll ask for like a time.
Okay. Yeah, that's perfect. Well, all I need right now is a list of students and their emails, so that way when I have an event pop up, I try to give at least a 2-week notice to you guys. So when I have an event pop up, I can email and see who's available and if y'all are interested in participating.
Okay. If you are interested, stay back, I guess, after the meeting, and I'll get your email and I'll forward it to you.
That
Does
sounds
sound
great.
okay?
Yes, that's perfect.
And that way, ta-da. Good stuff.
Do y'all have any questions for me? No, I know I kind of like talked really fast. My office is in the Vincent building, the second floor, room 284. If y'all want to stop by and discuss this further, if y'all have any activities going on with K through 12 that you want me to know about or help with or get the word out there, let me know and I can do that as well. Well, thank y'all.
Give her a round of applause, please. All right. So hi everybody. That was our wonderful talk. And remember, outreach is good for both helping out people and other stuff. A lot of y'all are here for workshop stuff though. Iggy, or you want to save your stuff for the end?
No, we're good.
All right. I know. I'm sorry.
I know. I know. We're kind of like edging y'all, but
I know.
That's a horrible way. Okay. Anyway, so if y'all haven't,
Poor choice of words.
horrible. So, I mentioned our orientation a couple weeks ago. If people are interested in cybersecurity kind of competition, I believe again, y'all got an email about the NCCDC. That is done. It's going to be our coach from Dr. Krishnan.
Krishnan. It has an N.
Well, he's or you want to compete in cybersecurity, do ask Dr. Dogu, do ask Dr. Krishnan. They'll provide. Dr. Krishnan has actually done this before, so don't be like, oh, I don't know what to do. He will help you with it. So if you're interested in that. Second thing is, I think, if also cybersecurity related, if you're into that, we are also looking for mentors for middle schoolers to high schoolers doing Cyber Patriot. If you want to help out the local community here in middle school and high school with mentoring for Cyber Patriot, which is basically security for computers, do ask Dr. Dogu about it. Ask that, he wants to help, you want to help mentor. It's going to be things that fits around your schedule. And also, it looks great on a resume, of course, as well as you get paid for it. So if you need like some income or whatever.
It's $14 an hour.
Yeah, you don't say the number. Don't say the number.
I say the number because pay me,
Well,
please.
case in point, if you're interested in cybersecurity and being a mentor for middle school to high school, do ask Dr. Dogu about it. He'll give you more information about it. All right.
Yep.
That's all.
We promise y'all opportunities. These are opportunities for networking and for other stuff. If you're going into the cybersecurity field, like if you're going for that minor or that major or that certificate, my biggest suggestion is go do the NCCDC.
NCCDC.
I'm horrible with acronyms. And the reason why is because that will give you the closest thing you have to job experience besides an internship. And that's kind of what we all are trying to get a little of, you know what I mean? But hi, everyone. I'm Womack. Y'all have heard my voice, unfortunately, multiple times now. And today we're talking about APIs. Yes, I know. I'm sorry. If you haven't signed in, please sign in with the QR code. We'll give like 10 seconds and then we'll really begin. I know. Y'all been waiting. While we wait, does anyone know what APIs are? Or what do you think APIs are? So true. All right. I'm going to ask from each row. You, one of you four, tell me what you think this is or why you're here. It's stuff. It keeps you busy. I see that nodding. Okay. All right. I'm going to throw words at you and you can just nod. Is that a deal? All right. Okay, this row, what do you think it is? Why are you here tonight?
Some software.
Okay, all right, that's fair. This is actually, APIs are how we get to interact with already built software, which is means we don't have to do as much work, and that's kind of important to me. Y'all too. I know y'all are here because I forced you to be here. You, yeah. Are you here tonight? Okay, that's fair.
Yo.
I'm join the club.
Yo.
Yo.
That's why we call it the CS Club. All right, y'all's crew. I know I convinced two of y'all to show up tonight instead of doing your homework. Y'all know what APIs are? Do you have ideas? Some of y'all took web programming. And some of y'all took internet technologies, and you're going to hear some term from there here in a little bit. Trauma? Trauma's fair. Internet technologies, if you didn't know, is also taught by Dr. Modal, so if you didn't get enough of him in compilers or data structures, take a summer course with him. All right, and my last crew on the left. Do y'all know anything? You're just here? Just here, have fun? Welcome. You're trapped?
No, I want you to experience it.
Oh, you want me to begin? All right, we'll begin this shenanigans. There's going to be a lot less slides in the GitHub workshop, so you're looking on that. Oh my god, we got a Joel.
Yeah, I just finished with tutoring.
All right,
I'll skip food.
okay. This, unfortunately, we will not be going in as depth as you might like, but it's introductory. All right, so API, this is not the exact definition, but y'all are all computer science majors, so I'm going to use this one. APIs are short for a application programming interface. And hi, Leo. And you can view these as essentially public member functions. Who knows what like a public member function even is?
It's a function you can access anyway.
Yes, it's stuff we allow you to access. We are willing to trust you with this one function. And basically, APIs are these functions that we can access for apps and websites and all sorts of things that other people have developed, which means we don't have to write as much code. Yay. Yay. All right, now how it works, we're going to send a request to a server. It's going to be an HTTP request. It's going to be a GET request because we're using RESTful APIs. Number two, we're going to send data because they send us back a response. We really hope it's a good response. And step three is we're going to utilize that data. We're going to grab it, we're going to manipulate it, we're going to do stuff with it. You know what I mean? You're going to actually, it's like we can use this API to get our data like you would in a lab that the professor gave you. You know what I mean? All right. We're going to talk one thing before we get into this. When we send data, before we get it, usually we have to go through some form of authentication. Now, authentication, there are 4 types that you might see out there in the wild. The one that we're using today, because it's easiest for all of us, and this is an introductory one, is none. We send a request, we get data. The issue is a lot of times these places will limit the amount of allowed requests we're able to send at once to basically prevent them thinking it's a DDoS attack or something. The second one is called HTTP basic, which basically means when we send that request out, we have to send our username and password every time into that data. Just free information. The third type is similar to that, where we use what's called an API key. We turn that username and password into this horrific string of letters and numbers that you better copy because you're not going to remember it. I know I don't. And the final type, which is what you'll see most of the time nowadays, especially on, say, like Google or Amazon or anything, is something called OAuth, authentication. And this is the most complicated. You actually need to register with their website, and the API owner will then give you your ID. And a lot of people do this because they set up certain permissions. It's like phone permissions for the company that it's like, all right, you're allowed to do this stuff and use these members. And we can watch this and you can make requests and we might approve you to do other things as well. All right. What data will we be getting back? We'll be getting either HTTP response codes or a JSON file. Now, these both sound probably pretty complicated. And unless you've taken one of like 2 courses here at ASU, you've probably never heard of either of these. So an HTTP response code is basically the server telling us what's happening. So you might see a couple of these codes here. The one we're looking for is 200, which just basically means enjoy your JSON, enjoy your data. Here, it all worked okay. 301 basically means it works, but you should fix something. A 404 and down means, all right, it broke. You ain't getting nothing.
400 and down.
400 and down, thank you. Either the URL is misspelled, or the user you're calling does not exist. This URL is just utterly garbage and you're getting nothing from it. Or you've tried to make way too many requests and you're being rate limited. So slow down. And those are HTTP response codes. The next thing is a JSON file. JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation, which is a long word that doesn't really matter to you. Instead, think of these as kind of like, if you've heard a map, this will make a lot of sense. If you haven't heard a map, I'm going to explain these like this. You have an index, right, that you're used to in arrays, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Instead of an index like numbers now, we give it a string. So it might be the word 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that key, that index, is connected to a value in the array. This allows us to make much more complicated things instead of numbers. Makes it easier to read. Now, this JSON is just going to be a long string of text. You kind of see it down here, right? This is the example. So this employee is our key, and it holds this data. And you'll notice that basically we're nesting these key values in further and further. So we have an employee who has a name, and his name is John. Then we have another data about this one employee. He has an age, it's 30. He has a city, whatnot. So these curly braces you see right here are objects. This is everything in the employee object. The other thing you might see is a square bracket. Square brackets are arrays. Neither of these work exactly how you're used to in C++ because this is through JavaScript. We're not going to really go into that tonight. We're just going to show you basically here in a moment some code that you can look at and basically play around with, and we're going to walk through it step by step. And then if you have any questions, we're going to go further. You know what I mean? All right. The last thing we're going to get is into the most important thing when dealing with APIs, and that's the documentation. Hello, all you CS majors. You're going to hear that word in real life a lot more than you hear at college. Documentation. That is your user's manual. That is the book you have to read to understand what you're allowed to do. C++ has documentation. Python has documentation. Everything under the blooming sun has documentation. But for y'all to understand, for this workshop, we will be using the chess.com API, which can be found at this tiny URL, which you might want to go to now. You can finally do things on your computer.
Additionally, if you have Discord on your computer or have logged into it, you can also access it from our Discord channel. It should be in our resource section.
Yep.
If you don't want to type like 8 characters.
I tried to make it a tiny URL to make our lives all easier. Unfortunately, tiny URLs are getting bigger. And it makes me sad. They used to be like four digits, and now they're, what is this? 9. How dare they?
Why don't they just make a tiny URL too? There we
They're
go.
going to. It's bound to happen.
How long you plan on?
What?
How long you plan on?
Probably about I think 23 minutes max. Yeah. This is, if y'all are wondering the time for this meeting, it's not gonna be more than an hour. Guaranteed it. I know you're wanting to go to the planetarium show.
No, I just want to eat.
Oh, that's fair. All right, cool. So the tiny URL is 2P9 B as in boy, N as in Nancy, X as in xylophone, K as in Karen, 7. Thank you. I know. We have to do something about that. All right. Now, the thing to remember is because this is a user manual, this documentation is unique to the API. So it's kind of the first thing to look before designing anything. We're not going to go too deep. You can probably scroll around. But the things you need to pay attention to are, of course, the descriptions and the URL pattern. So this one has player profile. Its description is getting player data. The URL is this HTTPS link. But most importantly, you see this curly braces with a username? That's what we get to replace. That's what we can change to get different data. That is the big thing right there. That's the stuff we can mess around with code in. That's basically our variable. And then we can start seeing our data format where we can get like an ID, which is the location of the profile, a URL, the chess.com user's profile page. And if you actually look on there, there's a lot more, but we're not going to get into it because this was just explaining what documentation is. Now we're actually going to go to the code. I need you to go to this link at the bottom. You've already done the top one. This is the link to the code I unfortunately had to make. It is in Python. We will be going through it step by step, just so you get an idea of what you're doing. If you want to know why we're doing Python, it's because Python has a library that makes dealing with APIs much simpler. It is called the requests library. But for now, go to the link. It is 2HJZN7VU6. Does someone want to write that on the board so I can... Oh, there's not a 7. I'm crazy. Iggy, write it on the board so I can go to our code. Yeah, there's Shock over there. Krishnan's been drawing. Also, I don't know about the rest of you, but this whole Among Us makes anime eyes is freaking me out. Because it works, and it's worrisome. It's an Among Us with 2 big feet. It's crazy that it works. 2HJZNVU6. +1 for the person taking a picture like a smart person. That's the right thing to do. That's what I would be doing at this point. Yes! That's why you actually have to use them for tutoring. All right. So hello, Jupyter Notebooks. I'm going to zoom in a little. All right. So if you all have never used Google Colab before, congrats. This is the easiest way to do Python around. The short answer is you write stuff in the blocks and you hit play right here, and then the code spits out below. I'm going to do it. An example right here. Ta-da! It spit out some code for me. All right. If you want to exit, if you want to remove that code, you do the X right to the left of this. All right, so let's explain what's going on here. Oh, did I miss something? I did. Thank you, Iggy. All right. So there's 3 code blocks. They get progressively more complicated. But let's look at this. Import requests is necessary. It is how we're going to basically send our request to the server. There's documentation for it if you want to look at it. The most important thing is you'll see stuff like this get. Request.get. And Google Colab's nice, and you can hover over it to understand what that looks like and what you might have to put in there. So for what this first block is doing, we're going to make a variable called link. We're going to set equal to a string that is basically the part of the API I want to mess with, which is basically I want to get all the streamers that are streaming chess on Twitch right now. So I set that as a link, and then I say, hey, I want to know, does it work when I try to get this data? And that's what request.get does. It gets us that HTTP code. So we know, does it even work? And then we create another variable, which is called the objects, usually for that data. And then you notice we're still using that get link. We're still using that. And now we're just saying, hey, it worked when I got data. So give me the JSON that you gave me. So we going to go over it one more time. We use requests to get some data, and then from that data, we get the JSON. We get that giant list. And if you hit the play button, you'll see response 200, which means it works, and then you get all this streamer data. Does that make sense? What do we do with data, right? Well, that's an interesting question right there. So this is an object, streamers, and as an array of streamers, in those they have different objects. Well, hey, if we go into this, you see I do the same thing, but you know what? Let's go through a loop. Now, in Python, the easiest loop is called a for each loop. And what it does is you do for, and then you have your variable, right? Maybe it doesn't matter what you call it, but this is basically your X, your Y, your I. And we're going to say for everything in this next part, for every name, when we look through our JSON file, we look for the streamers in our JSON file. Each different streamer is our name. And we're going to print that name's username. You see that? So you can think of over here, when we go down this line, you can think you have to do basically a square bracket, right? So if I wanted the streamers and I wanted their usernames. And if I hit play, well, guess what? Those are all the streamers currently on Twitch right now. Does that all make sense? Is there any part of, because this is Python, I know we only have one class over Python. Is there anything you'd like me to double go over for you? Or is this all just a little boring? Okay. All right. So let's go to the complicated part. So we have our streamers. We get all our streamers, but we're putting them in Python, this is called a list. But basically for y'all that have done C++, this is an array. I'm making a giant array of usernames right here. And I'm doing that by basically saying usernames, add to the end that data that before I was just printing. Now the next thing, I looked at the API, I'm like, all right, where are the different chess types in chess.com? And I grabbed 5 of them. I put that in an array. I'm like, all right, let's output some data. Let's output their username and the chess type they're playing, and their best score and the last score. And here, we're going to get into this for a moment. We're going to go back through that JSON file, right? But first, we're going to say for every username I have, I'm going to make a different JSON. and I'm going to make for each username, I'm going to get their stats. Now, when you do this, it's very important here that you see this F right here before the string. This is important in Python. This makes it a formatted string. You and Internet Technologies, this is how we can put variables in strings. So you see this is just the same as that one above, but I have, you know those brackets that we saw in the API? Bingo. And then I just do the same thing, see if it works, get the request.get, put it as a response. Then I do a try right here. If none of y'all have seen a try catch before, why there's a try here is because it might break. It might not work. But I want to see if it works. And if it does work, I want to output some stuff. So I say, hey, I want you to try to go through a loop of each chess type and output me their score. That's all this mess is right here. These commas, what you're seeing here is how we do concatenation in the print function. In Java, this would be a plus. In C++, this would be like your cout, arrow, arrow, variable name, arrow, arrow, string, arrow, arrow, yada, yada.
It follows it adding spaces.
What?
It adds spaces.
Does it add spaces? Thank you. So it does free concatenation plus a space. All right. I've learned something today. I'm not the best at Python.
Pretty sure you can change that in the print call with a.
But that is beyond the scope of this workshop.
It's annoying though. I hate it that it adds spaces.
All right. But beyond that, so basically it says, hey, if it's Puzzle Rush, just give me your best score. If it's not Puzzle Rush, then we do other things. And then let's hit play. I got a username, I got a chess type, and oh god, it's going. And it's going to keep going. Because it's Python and it's slow.
You have to request for everything.
You do. For each, view it as each different API call you do, you have to make a request for it. So if I was actually doing good standards, I might have, like, say, a loop actually going for requests, and I'm waiting until I get a 200 value until I break my loop. That would be better standards to basically say, hey, you're going to keep trying to get my data until it works.
CDUS though.
So,
Yeah, I know. Yes.
So is this running infinitely, or is it just
No.
taking a long time?
It's Python and it's slow as dirt.
Okay.
Because it has to output each individual thing.
I think I remember it took like 3 minutes 30.
Yeah. The reason why it takes so long is there are a lot of chess streamers, and it is outputting every chess streamer's data. So it'll go for like 3 minutes probably, if you want to see the machine go burr. I don't really care, because I just wanted to show off that, hey, guess what? GM Cragcore, his best score in Chess Bowl is 288. 2888. You might find famous streamers on here. You might find honestly garbage chess streamers. It's Twitch, man. But y'all have any more questions? I will personally pause this because it gave me what I needed. So APIs, just imagine though, like what you can do is based on what are you wanting with this data? Do I want to go through Google Maps and like maybe an airport API to figure out where billionaires are at any time? Using their airplanes. Guess what? Someone did that on Twitter. Do you want Dota? Do you want to know like your favorite sports player? I don't know. Do you want to know how much he played? Because you were too lazy to go to NFL. Do you want to? What's another good one? Do I want to go through Twitter and do I want to basically automatically look for every tweet that says Amber Heard pooped in the bed? So I can use that in a legal battle to say, hey, Johnny Depp, you owe me money for defamation. Guess what? These are all like real life shit, by the way.
Build a Discord.
Yes, that's actually the one that a lot of people ask. If you want to build a Discord bot, that's using Discord API. And that's all this kind of is. This is the introductory. This is just to show you what's possible. if you want to change these links to make it equal other data, guess what? You have this right here. Guess what? I want to know tournaments. I can get data from tournaments. I just need to know their ID. Do y'all have any questions on this? Do y'all have anything y'all want to learn more about? Yes, Julio.
Data engineers
Yes.
use APIs a lot, right?
Yes. Any sort of, this is basically how you can get data. Like imagine now I have this JSON file, right? I have this JSON file and it's giving me all this data, but I don't want to output it to the terminal because that's horrific. Well, guess what? I can import a couple more libraries and now I can output it to an Excel spreadsheet. If I want me to do a workshop on that, I'll learn it. But that's only if y'all as a group want that. But I could learn it for y'all and do a workshop on it. That's data science right there. Data science is basically messing with data like this, gathering it, manipulating it a little, and making money off of it. Yeah. Do you have any more questions?
Why are we learning this? Or is this like
Why are you learning this? This is actually one of the more likely things you will one day use in life. Because guess what? Not even if you're a software engineer, you don't want to write code for everything, right? Why do I need to write map software when I can just use Google Maps and just have an API call to it to bring it to my app now?
If you become a
OpenStreetMap.
become a web developer, you make these APIs or you will use them for your website or your portfolio.
Or you'll sell them.
Or
I spent $100 or I spent 100 hours making an API for your website so it can connect to Amazon so you can sell things. Pay me money.
Pokemon Go utilizes the OpenStreetMap API to determine where to color in a park or a road or a building. Like the entire game functions because the API exists. That's the only way they could have made it.
an API?
There's an API for a website called OpenStreetMaps that's basically an open source version of Google Maps.
And that means they can make money off of it if the licensing is correct.
Yeah.
So that's why you're learning it. If you go into web programming, you'll hear this in one lab. If you go through internet technologies, you'll hear HTTP codes at literally the last week.
That's true.
For the rest of y'all, you'll never hear about this ever, which is why we want to tell you about it.
Software engineering might touch on it a bit if you end up with a project that needs internet stuff, but it's only if you luck into that.
Yeah.
Okay, what classes did you say this was in?
What?
What classes did you put last week?
web programming,
Web programming, you have one lab, and mine was over the weather API.
Oh yeah, the weather, yes.
And if you've already forgotten about that, that proves my point. Because that's how little it went over. And partially why we're doing this is because I want to see, do y'all want to know more about this? If you have a specific API, guess what? I get to do this now. Pull up my PowerPoint. Congrats! That's all this workshop is, just an introduction. So if you want to scan that QR code, it'll bring you to a little survey that hopefully works and I didn't mess it up. And you can tell me if this even interests you. And if it does, you want basically a larger, like more intermediary workshop, probably in either late November or next semester, on an API of y'all's choice. Like if you want me to learn Google Maps over the December break, I'll cry, but I'll do it.
You need permission.
You do! And partially why we didn't go further into APIs is if you... Oh, did I fail? Did I forget to...
are you trying to?
I have to be signed into my Angelo account.
Yes,
on
you
the
do.
browser, and I'm not signed in.
That's why.
Yep.
Sorry, y'all. I forgot to uncheck the be a part of Angelo EDU or B Square box. Okay. But yeah. Do you have any more questions about this stuff? The weird thing about APIs is this thing, and what they teach you is just the very basics of how to use them. So you've at least heard them once. They don't go into detail, because going in detail you can go really deep. You can go as deep as the person that gave you the API lets you.
So you told us how to use APIs.
Yes.
How do we set up our own APIs?
It's a freaking nightmare, bro.
If you want to set up your own API, remember that means you have to have a server, and that server has to be able to interpret GET requests and respond to them. And I hate to tell you this, y'all, I'm not that good. So if you want a workshop about how to create your own personal API for other people to do data, I'm sorry.
Okay, just forget.
Yeah.
So why we don't learn API?
Because I don't have a good answer for that. I would say because to go further than skin deep, the hard part is like API knowledge doesn't transfer between APIs. Like it's, you know, the GET request, and that's about it. Like each API is going to be different because you're working with different software. Google does not have the same data or sends you the same data as Twitter will or Facebook. Instead, if you want to learn like global stuff, you need to learn how to manipulate JSON files. And that's about it. How do we manipulate JSON? And web programming goes into that in 1 or 2 labs, which is good. One? Was it just one? Yeah. But that's actually how you get scary. And that's how, if you want to become like a data scientist, that's what you should be looking at. How can I manipulate JSON? How can I send data to Excel? How can I make graphs based on this data? We had all that data basically saying, hey, these are the top streamers. What happened if I instead had a little scoreboard, right? And says, this is the current 1 through 5 top streamers. This is what game they're currently playing, if you want to watch it. This is a link. That's a website right there.
Or a feature for my Discord bot.
All right, do it. There's probably someone else that's done it too. Because, God, chess people are weird. I say that as a computer scientist. Do y'all have any more questions? Was this an interesting 30 minutes? At least worth it enough to walk across campus for a moment? For y'all that drove out here, I'm sorry if y'all did that. I appreciate y'all too, though. Y'all good? Y'all have fun? Remember, if you are looking for ways to get more money from the government or from school, seriously, stay back for a moment. Let me get your email address to send to Dr. Sweat's left-hand lady, or send data to Dodu if you want to be like a cybersecurity mentor. Like this is the stuff and the opportunity that this is really the only way you're going to get stuff like this. These rare chances.
Oh, earlier.
Yes, if you want to be a mentor to yes. For the Cyber Patriot competition, Get With Me. If you want to do STEM outreach, talking about how great the computer science department is, and maybe convince people to come to ASU and be Rams, Get With Me. If you just want to be more active in the community, Get With Me. This is the moment where you all get with me as I go get a piece of paper so I can write down emails. We'll stop.